Eros has a question. He wants to know, after your surgery, besides not being able to wrestle, Arn, what was an activity that you did regularly before that was different or that you couldn't do after? So is there something, a hobby or an activity or something, Arn, that you used to really enjoy that since you've had, the surgery and the major injury that you just don't get to do or enjoy like you used to outside of wrestling?
Throw a baseball. Throw a frisbee. Go to a batting cage. Hit some baseballs. Just anything normal. How about, people don't understand when you're left-handed and that hand is suddenly paralyzed. At the age I was, at 37 or whatever it was when this occurred, you can't teach yourself how to write right-handed at that advanced age. You pull through a drive-through at Wendy's or wherever it may be, any drive-through, and you order something at Starbucks or whatever, and you roll down the window. You can't just reach out and grab the cup because I can't hold it. I have to take off the seatbelt, reach across me, get it, bring it back in, set it down. Basically functioning. I can't do a button on this side. I can't do button of a shirt. I have to button it, slip it over my head. Day-to-day things that you would never think about. Can't do anymore. I used to love to get my boys out just out in the backyard and just pitch a baseball. Done.
Your right hand, is fully functional? Is it just your left hand and that's the hand you write with?
Yeah, I just don't write with this hand. I don't throw with this hand. But as far as picking stuff up and basically everything of everyday life I have to do with my right hand. Left hand is pretty much the thumb and the first finger are pretty much paralyzed. I got a little bit, and the middle finger and the last two have a little bit of strength. So it's but you know what? Before I sit around and start feeling sorry for myself, I think of somebody like Magnum TA who had that horrible car wreck, and all these years he has managed to lead a pretty damn good life, and it makes you feel foolish to look at this hand and feel sorry for yourself and see a guy like that who is in a wheelchair for life, but he don't ever complain. He manages to get through life just fine. So I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but there's a lot of just things you would never think about that aren't possible anymore.
I think about you, and what about autograph? I mean, you give autographs out. You're still able to sign with your left hand a little bit?
A little bit. I just literally have to put the pen in there and brace it pretty good, and thank God the fans are kind and considerate enough to know that lousy, and I usually have to print it, which it comes out a lot clearer with the 4 underneath it. That's a legitimate autograph, and they're accepting of that. And in a way, it identifies me. It's kind of like a doctor's autograph. We're allowed to get away with it. They got shitty handwriting, so do we. At least I do. So, yeah, nothing in particular, but a lot of little stuff that just, buttons and things inside the car that you would usually just normally do with your left hand. You'd figure out a different way to do it.
Arn, listen, bud, man, we love you, and I think you help put a lot of things in perspective for us. And I know, and Brian says it right here in the chat, you have such a great perspective and a great attitude. You bring up Magnum TA. He's another guy that we see at a lot of these autograph signings, still making it around in his chair and has that countenance of just positivity and happiness. And that's your approach too, man. And it just reminds us as fans how when you get the opportunity to meet these guys, just say thank you. Thank you for what you've given and what you've done to really just entertain us as fans. Because, man, you have put your bodies through a lot of wear and tear over the years to entertain us. So, man, I just love your attitude with that.
Well, thank you. And hey, don't feel sorry for me, guys. I continue to lead a very enchanted life, getting to go to these signings and stuff. And more so than you thanking me, I'd rather just spend that time thanking you, because I never got to tell you guys I loved what I did for a living. I'm continuing to love doing this show with Paul. Personal appearances, anything that I'm doing with AEW when they choose to, to plug us in, I am thrilled to death to be a part of it. So just being involved in this business, I've said it 1,000 times, it's the greatest way to make a living on earth because you meet all kinds of awesome people.
Guys, before we turn this into a full Hallmark greeting card, because I'm about ready to, I just want to say one thing before we move on. I've had the honor and privilege to be able to work with you, Arn, for the last 9 months or a year or so. And you know what I love about you? You're just as genuine when the cameras and everything's off, and you and I talk on the phone, sometimes 45 minutes at a time about things. And you're just such a great guy. And I look up to you for more reasons now than just as the guy that I love to watch as a wrestler. So this has just been awesome.